Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rest is Lean podcast with me, Alan Lothian, and my dear friends, Russell Watkins and John D. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Just before we start, for those of you that have not got into the podcast yet, this is our first attempt, and long may it continue. Certainly for me, anyway. What we're hoping for is to share some enjoyable stories and educational stories for people out there who have got an interest in lean, both newcomers and also experienced professionals who may want to take a light-hearted look at the profession, the subject, the topic, and have got enough time on themselves to listen to three, shall we say, long-standing individuals who have got a few experiences to share. Let's put it that way.
He's very good. Who'd have
Nice.
thought it?
Smooth. Very smooth.
Smooth.
Doused though, isn't it?
Smooth to the extent of almost greasy.
Yeah, almost. I think I might need a second shower this morning, John.
Right, so on our first edition of our podcast, we've created an extensive list and detailed itinerary based on a post-it note, which will be our style moving forward, viewers. So if you don't like that, you won't like this. But where I wanted to start off for everybody was we kind of had a common source, an origin story like the Avengers, because that's who we are. And I think we all met for the first time when we joined the SMMT, or Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, which is the trade body for the automotive industry in the UK. And a division of that called IF, Industry Forum. I think I'm right in saying, Russ, you joined before us. You're old. You're the older one.
Yeah, harsh, but 1990. I was January 1999. I was the fifth intake.
Yeah.
I would think I was just before Al, maybe a couple of months before Al.
Yeah, no, I was October 2000. I was.
Yeah, Alan's a lot newer than he looks.
Yeah.
And I kind of lie between the two, and the years have spun by so
Dropped away from you. And it's true that Alan does wear his life on his face.
I am, thank you. And I've softened the blow. I've tried to soften the blow this morning as well.
There's only so much that good filters can do, isn't there? But yeah, so we all joined that organization, which was very much trying to introduce continuous improvement, lean, good working practices and productivity to automotive suppliers in the UK. But how did we get there? That's the question that I've got. And I'm really interested because I don't think I actually know this. How did you guys get into lean or continuous improvement before SMMTIF? That made you interested when the opportunity came along. So, Al, as you're in the top left of our screen, that obviously means you have to go first.
Okay.
How did you get into the world of lean?
Right. I'd like to think by accident. Well, I think it's by accident, but so as you can tell from the accent, I'm from the northwest of England, from Liverpool originally. Went to University of Birmingham and did manufacturing, engineering, and commerce at university back in the 90s. And one of the many modules and topics that we had on the course was one around lean manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, of all the, I had no idea whatsoever of what lean manufacturing was. I'd never heard the term before. I'd never heard the term of continuous improvement, any of those things whatsoever. But I really, really enjoyed the module. Your degree progresses, you graduate, and then a couple of years after graduation, and I went into a tier 1 automotive job as a production planner originally.
Yeah.
And then into production management and ops management. And I'd always had or kept in the back of my mind the things I'd have remembered from that module above anything else. And so I dabbled with a little bit. So things like, the old thing as we talk about today, like T-cards, the old Kanbans, trying to control a bit of the inventory and that sort of thing. Bit of 5S. I know we talk about 5C with IF, but in terms of 5S, trying to just, literally from what I've learned, trying to apply it. and actually had a little bit of success with it. And without blowing too much of a trumpet, we were supplying into Browns Lane and Castle Brom, in JLR. And based on the simple Kanban approach that we'd put in, it reaped some big benefits to the extent that they liked what they did, and they awarded us as a Best Supplier award back in, I think it would have been 1998, 1999, something like that. So obviously that helped me. I felt quite nice because obviously I tried to apply something of my own accord and it worked.
Yeah.
And then at the time, my girlfriend at the time, who was now my wife, she was in IT, and she brought this laptop home for the first time. I've never used a laptop in my life. So we were playing about with it, and I basically looked at a job site. And I'll never forget this. There was 11 jobs that I applied for.
And you were qualified for none of them?
None of them. But, and I'll get to that bit in a moment, Russ. Is number 9 was Industry Forum.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, you guys, I'm sure you'll have your own stories about the recruitment process, because it was quite long-winded at that time. It goes on for about it certainly went on for me for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, blood tests, DNA.
That's it. Assessment centres over at was it Walsall or something like that? Was it Jonathan Lee?
Jonathan Lee's recruitment centre. I can't remember.
Then you had the psychometric testing. Then you had the visit to an exemplar company. Did you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Concentric in Birmingham.
You had consent. I can't remember what mine was actually. It might have been that. Anyway,
Smith's
so I had that, and then all. I'm sure you've all had this. Was the final stage where you sat in front of Mr. Broom.
Yeah.
And slipped through the net. You talk about you said about being underqualified. The holes in those nets all the way through were suitably large enough for me to see through. So there was, I think I was only one of 2 on that intake.
Yeah.
So I was wave 8, I think.
Yeah.
I think I was wave 8.
Mm.
I think you were 6, Russ, weren't you, or 5?
I was 5, but I also blagged my way in.
Do you know what the thing they said to me afterwards was on the tour, I literally broke free from the tour and I saw these 2 ladies working away.
Yeah.
Manual assembly.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can't remember what the product was. I really can't. But for me, it was more about going over there and just talking to them, having a conversation, understanding what they're up to and what their issues were, and then feed that back. Right. Yeah. And I'll always remember Arthur saying to me, after Blake Arthur, I'm sure at some point we'll mention who Arthur is. He's, fantastic guy. He said to me, that was one of the main things that took you to that final stage with Graham, because you're the only person in that cohort that actually broke free from the norm and went and spoke to people.
Yeah.
And as you and I both know now, that is one of the cruxes. It's the buy-in of the people if you're going to sustain what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for me, it was complete naivety. You guys know what I'm like. I'll talk the hind legs off a donkey, and I'll talk to anybody, mate.
Yeah.
But it was just the fact that for me, it was just normal to go over, have a conversation, have a bit of banter with them, learn something from it, and feed it back.
Yeah.
So that was it, and then that's the reason why we now live in Warwick, was because of the job at IF. We moved from Oxford to Warwick, and we've never left.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's how I've ended up with that. Well, you've still got the advert.
Wow. Oh, I'm keeping this as a screenshot, mate. Production managers and engineers.
That's it, the Maltings. That's right, the Maltings.
World-class organisation, learn from Japanese Kaizen masters and improve UK automotive suppliers through factory improvement projects.
I'm sorry, Al. I was having a good rustle and I turned off to stop me rustling because I remembered suddenly, I've got the advert, and I thought I'd dig it out because that's quite a nice little prop.
Mike South is the guy who interviewed me at the Maltings.
Mike South, I remember Mike South.
Yes, yeah, that's him. Yeah.
That's it. And when he told the story about you breaking away to go and speak with people, he said no attention span.
Yeah. Goldfish.
How did you find your way into the world of lean then, Russell?
Well, so during COVID, to keep in touch with my 80-year-old mother, we started a really nice thing of doing ancestry for an hour a week on a Sunday, and we started to go back and back and back. And I hadn't realised, but going back centuries, decades and centuries, my family is a combination of horse thieves, charlatans, and people who worked in manufacturing. So manufacturing's in my blood. It was just there.
That's what you took from that.
Yeah. Um, and so
Optimist.
I remember when I first before I got into lean, I got into manufacturing. I was going to go traveling around the world, and then my then girlfriend, now wife, we needed to earn money. Her mom worked in a manufacturing company and said, "Law, we need somebody to help put this computer system in to manufacturing site." Long and the short, rose tinted spectacles, but it was like coming home. First time I'd been in a manufacturing site, age of 20, and I thought, geez, this is this is fabulous. It just smelt right, it felt right, it was lovely. The ambient soundtrack, it was great. And then I moved around a bit, but I had an interest in Japan, an interest I can't explain where it came from, but I actually started to learn Japanese well before I got into manufacturing,
Mhm.
and then gave it up because it was tricksy. Um, but then I went to work at Messier Doughty Landing Gear in Gloucester, and I was there as a senior capacity planner because was pretty good with scheduling. I came through the materials management route, then
Mhm.
ops management. And while I was there, I was senior capacity planner, and my gaffer said, "Do you want to have a go at lean?" And I said, "Yes," but I made a mistake. I said to him, "I'll do it, and I'll have a go, but you're going to need to give me a budget." Because I knew nothing about Kaizen at that point. I said, "You're going to need to give me a budget." And he said, "Okay, what budget do you need?" I went, 3 grand. And he
Bus
said,
fare home, Russ.
"You are?"
That's the bus fare home.
And he said, "I can't do that." And it's the best thing he ever said because it was I then started to look around at lean and realize, oh, hang on, this Kaizen thing, use your wisdom, not your money. It's all, there's no need to spend money. I thought, oh my word, I've blown it there. And then I lived in Birmingham at the time, and I saw that advert I've just shown you.
That's
And
fabulous. That really is. That
production engineers and managers. I was neither. I was a senior capacity planner. I was the first non-engineer that blagged their way in to IF. I'm pleased to say that's a badge of pride for me. Blagged my way in. The same kind of process as Alan. Got through the final broom stage, and had a terrible year with Mixam. No, wrong. A terrible 9 months. A good last 3 months. But yeah, that was me. How about you, John? How did you get in?
Again, I think I crawled through the cracks. I remember somebody saying it might have been Arthur, our dear departed friend Arthur, said, um, "Yeah, we all need to have somebody like John in our organisations, but maybe only the one." So so I think I'm also um, somebody who creeped through the gaps. Or maybe there was a whole conspiracy theory, and what IF really was
Yeah.
a group of completely randoms. We were like, Magnificent Seven, or
This isn't this isn't sounding like the cream of industry forum. This is sounding like an island of misfit toys.
yeah, yes.
I think it was like that, though. I think you're right. They were looking for a theme
Mm,
inside us, weren't they?
yes, yeah,
Outside, we are very, very different.
absolutely.
Yeah, we've got some
Yeah,
introverts, some extroverts.
yeah,
I think they were just looking at who are likely to be more susceptible and adaptable to the Japanese way of learning, I suppose.
yeah. I genuinely think I hold this going forward in what I share with people and try and improve them. But if you're going to put somebody in a role of a change agent, let's call them for want of a better phrase, don't hire the guy who knows loads about change over the guy or girl who knows how to talk to people.
Hmm.
Person who's got an engaging personality, the memorable one. Just hire the best person
Mhm.
because, believe it or not, all the clever stuff that we teach and charge money for is
Yeah.
really easy. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be about lean, doing little, gaining lots. But yeah, my route in, um, I started off as an apprentice at GKN, and did the very traditional approach, 4 years as an apprentice, did all the bits and bobs around the factory, and found my way into production engineering and eventually project management. and I enjoyed it. Very much the same story, I think, as Russell. Just the manufacturing. It's like a sweet shop.
Yeah.
I can't believe people get paid to come and play with this stuff every day. I enjoyed everything about it, and enjoyed trying to make my mark and make improvements.
Hmm.
But the thing that actually drove me out of GKN in the end, after 14 years, so they didn't drive me out too hard. 14 years was, I recognized that it was a very traditional, slow-moving business, and you could have the best idea in the world, and can we do it? Can we do it? And I'll go, oh, calm down, son, calm down.
Yeah.
Maybe in 6 months we'll talk about it again. Um, and I started to feel frustrated and constrained because I'm an excitable character.
I originally loved manufacturing because of the smell and the ambience and that.
Mm.
And then last week I had a nice episode. I was in a current client. I hadn't been in there for a few months. And it reminded me of what I love about manufacturing. And it's the fact it's a socio-technical system. And you get
Right.
and that sounds really, really twattish, but it's a socio-technical system. And what I mean by that is, apart from the brutal, beautiful humor I like, there's a fella with one arm and they call him the octopus, or 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 there's a lad called Anthony who's really short and they call him Shetland Tony, and
Fabulous.
that's the kind of stuff I enjoy. But I was in a client last week, so it's down in London, a stone's throw from Twickenham, right? And it
Mhm.
makes cases, really high spec cases for things like the World Cup and stuff, and
Yeah.
medical equipment. Anyway, there's some team leaders I've been training down there. One of them, Mark, in his spare time, he does a stunt double for Jason Statham. Looks just like him, yeah. Anyway, when I was in there 6 months ago, he'd rescued a lad from another side of the factory. This lad, I saw him last week. He was happy as happy. He's on the autistic spectrum. He likes it to be quieter. He likes to have a consistent job to do. He's very good attention to detail.
Mm.
But he was over another side of the factory with Fast Pete, Mad Mick, and Heart Attack Dave, right? And that environment wasn't the correct environment for him. He was stressed. So
Yeah.
Mark, my team leader, had gone over and rescued him and taken him to his section because he knew the kind of job he needed doing, and he put him in the right environment. And when I was there last week, he was thriving, this lad. And
Mm.
it's a socio-technical system where little families grow up outside of their blood families. So and if we do our lean bit right, we help to cultivate that.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more.
It's
I mean,
back to what we said before. It's the people element. It's not necessarily what you know technically. Yes, you have to
yeah,
have to appreciate. It's how you can apply it to the right people at the right pace and the right style,
yeah.
isn't it? And be able to
And
know that.
speaks a lot. Russell's comment there speaks a lot to what we were saying about, how on earth did we end up selected for this very important position at SMMTIF? It certainly wasn't, in my case, because of my smarts in the world of lean.
No.
It was maybe because, why did they choose Russell? Is a sort of guy who'd be interested in that story when surrounded by robots and glue guns, and he'd still see that story that, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It is that mix, that blend of liking humanity, enjoying working with people, and recognizing that you actually only get really slick manufacture because the people in the process want there to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
slick manufacture. So it
Well,
is
and
interesting everything, not just mechanical.
John, you said liking humanity. I'm with you. You can't be a misanthrope. If you like humanity, then you're probably wired to see opportunity. If you're wired to see opportunity, you're naturally going to help people with putting square pegs in square holes and round pegs in round holes. And you're
Yeah.
thinking career pathway, and you're thinking where's the next leader coming from, and you are
Yes.
curious on that area. So you're going to be useful to somebody.
Oh,
Mm.
I think we've worked out who we are. This is great. This is like a therapy session for us. If everybody wants to tune out right now, that's fine because we're feeling a lot better. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so that was my world. And I had a friend who moved from GKN, which was unheard of because 14 years was like the norm. And they said, "Oh, the company I'm working for, 100 miles an hour. You come up with an idea, they do it." But right, I'm coming. So I moved from there to a company called Webasto,
Ah,
which is a brand name lots of people know.
Hugh de Webasto, Minworth. I went to see Ash Parr last week.
Ashley is, of course, one of my colleagues from the same era. 100 mile an hour company, still is, but in a different format. Smelt a bit funny over there. It was right next door to the sewage works. But genuinely, if you had half a good idea, they did it. If it went wrong, they'd also hold you to account over it.
Right.
So it was a totally different animal. And I loved it and enjoyed it, but only stayed there for 2 years. And that was because I, as part of my role, invited in some lads called SMMT Industry Forum, including one of the Japanese master engineers, to come and help because we had a particularly tricksy layout change to make. And I got involved in what we now know to be called a masterclass.
Mm.
And I was just, oh, I found my religion. This is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So 2 years after I'd started at this outfit, I got myself poached, if you like. I can't claim that it took me with them, but I wouldn't let them go. I just, "Oh, I need to work with you guys." And
Well,
that's how I found my way into the world of true lean. Even though I was doing a lean role within Webasto, I was improvement coordinator for UK sites, I think was my title.
but what you said a minute ago about Webasto sounds really interesting in that they encouraged Kaizen, but then they punished you for Kaizen that didn't work. That
Yes.
seems to be a bit of a zero-sum game that ain't going to go somewhere healthy.
Yes, it was quite an unusual environment. It was a harsh environment, quite rewarding for some individuals. I think some of it comes out of a remote actual owner. It's not called Mr. Webasto, but somebody owned that company. The money that you were taking and putting in your wallet came out of his,
Hmm.
which gives a very clear view of value for money for things.
Yeah.
But that owner was not visible within the business because the business was so huge and a foreign entity as well. So you got this, you don't get the family business type ethic going on. Quite mercenary, quite mercenary. But yeah, I wouldn't take it back for a moment because it was all part of my journey. And it also taught me what sorts of businesses I don't want to be creating. I don't want that mercenary to the extent that people feel a little bit scared, a bit afraid to put their hand up and say, "What if?" I want people to play and experiment and make errors because
Yeah.
that's where we learn most.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I slipped in. And again, I went for the same as you guys in terms of a recruitment process that was, it felt like you were joining CI5 or something. This is not a job interview. You were going through lots of stages. There seemed to be folklore and legend behind stuff, which again, instead of putting me off, made me, ooh, this is feeling like a religion. I'm joining a cult. Way. um, I found the whole experience really engaging. And again, the last step for me was meeting Graham Broom, who, to the viewers of this podcast, you probably won't know who he is, but he was our CEO, our figurehead for our business, somebody we all looked up to. He just had a gravitas about him that, particularly when I was younger, I hadn't really met too many people that you walked into a room, as soon as they started speaking, you thought, "Oh, that's the boss."
Yeah.
He just exuded, "Listen to me, boys," without ever throwing stones or shouting.
He was always perfectly, no pun intended, groomed.
Yes.
He had a brain the size of a planet, but he looked like a Westworld. But he was a smart man.
Was.
Yes.
Two things I've always taken away from Mr. Broom. Number one is, what is it? Sales is vanity, profit's sanity, cash is the only reality.
Yep.
The second one was there's three things certain in life: death, taxes, and at some point in your life, you're going to sleep with a nurse. And I've still never understood the last one. And I've find out what it meant.
No, that must be in my future. Interesting, the land of the blind one. Do you know the end of that story?
No, I don't.
So in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the end of the story, the rest of the village gets sick of him appearing to be psychic. It's some kind of witchcrafty thing. They poke his other eye out.
Do they?
So there's
To even things up.
So yeah, so there's a cautionary tale to that in terms of in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Be careful not to appear to be a smart ass. I guess is the cautionary tale there.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to leave it there for this podcast, folks. But if you've enjoyed this content, then please subscribe to our channel to get your podcasts. Click the little bell notification icon so that you're always aware when the next one drops. And please give us a thumbs up, give us a comment in the description below, or email us at therestislean@gmail.com. Next time, we'll be giving you some tips to try out in your business.